Hi, this is Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Hi, this is Taylor, and while you're listening to all the other great shows here on Vigilant Liberty Radio, be sure to check out my show on Saturday nights called Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. You never know what we're going to talk about. It's always a fun time. That's Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to VLR.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
We are back for the final half hour, Hausen. I did like I'm on speed or something. I don't know what's going on here for the right mics. Mike Miller, Michael Hausen, 412-567-6879. If you wish to weigh in. Hausen, I want to talk about this Pentagon essay contest. Did you see that?
I did. I knew that you were going to bring it up.
You know, this kind of stuff just tickles the crap out of me, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the Pentagon sponsoring an essay competition to honor Saudi King Abdullah, who died last week at the age of 90. Did you look at this? I mean, before we dig in for a tad, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just think it's interesting. Like, what do you think about that?
You know, there's nothing more important that the Pentagon should be doing than A, figuring out how to honor the Saudi guy, and B, reading essays submitted by the populace. I mean, if you look at all the things that are on the Pentagon's plate, I think evaluating running an essay contest would be, I don't know, maybe not number one on the list, but number two.
So you're probably not thinking, if I can paraphrase what you're saying or analyze what you're saying, with all the cuts to the Pentagon budget, you're not thinking that sponsoring an essay competition and, of course, reading and, judging, a winner and the like, that's not real conducive to the security of the U.S.?
Well, I'm thinking that the Pentagon's job is to defend the country and kill people and break things as needed. And maybe the pen is mightier than the sword, but I'm not necessarily sure that an essay is going to do the trick.
I agree with you. And, the reason I wanted to talk about this just real quickly, and then we'll move on. And listen, let me back up to last week. I'm not sure you and I even agreed entirely on this, but, arguably Saudi Arabia, well, no, we did, because we used the, excuse me, we referred to the old comment, whomever made it first. He might be a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch, okay? So we get that. But, the fact that Wahhabism, and I talked about this a lot last week too, if you dig into it, what's taught in the madrasas, the Israelis are descendants of apes and pigs, and, the way that that women are treated in Saudi Arabia. Listen, that relationship is unique, and we're fortunate as hell to still have it with what's gone on in the Middle East the last however many years. But to actually want to honor this guy with an essay contest is to me it's just it's Obama's America, dude. I don't know what else to say.
Sam Whitfield just asked, did you get this story from The Onion?
See, Sam, by the way, we've wondered about a couple of stories in the last couple of weeks about, this sounds like this came from The Onion, right? I've said in the past, this sounds like something off Saturday Night Live Weekend Update. But no, this is real, and I won't waste time.
I coined a phrase, Mike, that's appropriate for this kind of discussion.
What's that?
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Oh, there's no question. And
I came up with that years ago.
Yeah, I won't read through all of the effusive quotes from Chief of Staff Dempsey, but just on and on about important opportunity to honor the memory of the king, and he goes on and on and on with this. And of course, you know what? Here was my I have a question and an observation, and then we can move on. My question to you, Michael, is: do you suppose that a submitted essay about Saudi Arabia and the king, you referred to him as a dictator last week, and you were correct. Do you suppose that an essay submitted that also touched on, let's just say, just touched on a tad, Saudi Arabia's hanging of homosexuals, its treatment of women, do you suppose an essay submitted with any of that stuff might just be kind of just automatically disqualified?
Well, exactly. I was going to suggest should we have a gay woman drive it over to the Pentagon as a way to protest.
All right, that's the funniest thing you've said today.
We had an essay submitted. We had an essay ready to submit, and we thought it was important enough that the hard copy be sent because we don't want our NSA guy to get his grubby little hands on it. But the only courier that was able to drive it over is a lesbian chick, and we thought that would be contrary to the spirit of our inclusive Saudi love.
And like a lesbian that's that is pretty funny. And the other thing was just an observation, as I said. Dude, when I read this, I scratched my head and trying to remember whether, when Margaret Thatcher died, whether or not the Pentagon sponsored an essay contest on how great Margaret Thatcher was.
I think that the Department of State had a thing about how many coal miners' lives were lost as a result of the strikes in northern England in the late 70s that she was responsible for. I think they actually wanted a pictorial essay of miners who lost their lives as a result of that.
See, and I think, what did the regime, that would be our regime, by the way, I think dude, to Margaret Thatcher's funeral, I think they sent like a White House janitor or something, if I recall. But yeah, anyway, I found that interesting. So let's move along,
Let's talk pot, man.
dude. I'm down.
Um, oh, let me pull up that article. So it was a story that I just put up. Actually, went up 2 days ago. And it was at the top of the news at the hour that they read about it. Is John Hickenlooper was on CSNBC's Squawk Box over the weekend, and he was talking about how that he wished that the pot thing hadn't passed in Colorado.
Right.
But 2 years later, it looks like it certainly still would have passed in the state. People would be voting for it today just as much as before. In fact, for the first time, Americans still support marijuana legalization. And oh, you know what? They took it down. Interesting.
Who took it down?
They edited my article. I put in another graph talking about marijuana usage in Colorado. That basically, since marijuana's become legal, marijuana usage basically hasn't changed at all. So not only has the support not changed, marijuana usage hasn't changed.
What do I think about that? Well, I didn't think it would change either. Let's step out for a second, related, but where do you stand? Like, what's your position on the nationwide legalization of recreational marijuana?
You know what? It's funny. I read, making reference to Bill Buckley, I read an essay by Bill Buckley years and years ago calling for the legalization of drugs. And I had a hard time not being totally and utterly convinced of it. Despite conservative, I'd say, I don't want to say the conservative right, the Christian right having pictures of Needle Park in Switzerland and all these other kinds of things.
I wouldn't just lay that on the Christian right.
No, you're probably right about that. But I would say in terms of vociferous anti-drug legalization, I would say that's probably the chunk of society that has the strongest support for keeping any sort of drugs illegal.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Sean Hannity comes to mind. He says he's Catholic. I mean, we'll run with that. I don't know if he would be considered as a member of the Christian right. I typically, when I think of the Christian right, I think that they not only view but espouse, if you will, everything through Christianity. But having said that, so where do you come down now? I mean, where do you come down now on again just recreational marijuana?
Let me ask you a question this way. How many people died last year as a result of marijuana usage, either directly or indirectly via, vehicle deaths or other, compared to alcohol?
Well, first of all, alcohol for sure, and I'm with that argument, which is partially why I personally support the legalization of recreational marijuana. But the other part of the answer to that question is we don't know. We do not know, and we being the country, we do not yet know the total effect of marijuana usage on accidents, on suicides, on all kinds of bad stuff that happens. There's new stuff coming out all the time. In fact, a year or maybe even year and a half ago, maybe, the LA Times, not exactly a bastion of conservatism, talked about in LA specifically the incidents, or shall we say maybe the suspected incidents, because it has yet been, I think it's being worked on as we speak. You cannot measure, if you will, I guess, the amount of THC in blood on the spot. It requires a bit more, analysis. But I think there's a lot of stuff Setting aside, what happens to the brain, particularly in younger people who smoke marijuana. So, dude, I just think the jury's still out on that, and I think there's a lot still